Princess Aurelia of the Valor Dominion stood at the highest balcony of the royal tower, looking over the glowing cities of her homeworld. Tall crystal structures reflected the blue lights of the twin moons, and soft energy streams floated through the sky like glowing ribbons. Her world was peaceful, orderly, and shaped by the strict traditions of her ancestors. Everything in her life had always been decided for her: what to study, where to go, how to speak, what future she must accept. She was raised to be calm, graceful, and obedient. And she obeyed, because it was all she had ever known. But tonight, her hands were shaking. Her mother, Queen Serana, had just informed her that the High Council had passed a decision that would change her life forever. Aurelia was to take part in a treaty with a distant species called humans. The Valor Dominion had met humans only a few decades ago. And although their early contact had been peaceful, both sides had kept their distance. Humans were strange to the Valor, emotional, bold, chaotic, and unpredictable. They rarely followed rules, rarely accepted limits, and did not fear things they should logically fear. Stories about them spread quietly through the empire. Some called humans dangerous. Others called them brave. A few elders even said humanity's courage came from their short lives. They lived fast because they knew their time was limited. Aurelia, however, knew very little. She had never seen a human in person. She had never spoken to one. And she had never imagined she would be asked to marry one. The threat beyond the empire had forced the council's hand. For months, pirate fleets had attacked Valor colonies. These pirates were not ordinary criminals. They used weapons the Valor had never seen. Whole cruisers had been destroyed, outmatched by strange energy blasts. The council believed that humans had a unique strength, something unexplainable, that might help the Valor stand against this new danger. The alliance needed to be sealed, and the simplest symbol of peace was marriage. Aurelia had not argued when her mother told her. Valor princesses did not argue. They accepted, smiled, and bowed. She bowed too, hiding the fear tightening her chest. She had expected to marry someday, but she expected to marry someone from her own people, someone she understood, someone chosen by the council. But a human? She could not even imagine what they looked like beyond the images in the archives. Now she stood on the balcony, trying to calm her thoughts. The night air was cool, carrying the soft hum of the city. Her loyal attendant, Lyra, approached quietly. "You are troubled, princess," Lyra said gently. Aurelia kept her eyes on the sky. "I am to marry someone I have never met. Someone from another world." "Many princesses before you have done the same," Lyra reminded her. "But they married Valor nobles," Aurelia whispered. "People like them." Lyra hesitated before speaking again. "Perhaps the human will understand more than you think." Aurelia gave a soft, doubtful smile. "Do you believe that?" Lyra smiled back. "I believe you are stronger than you think, princess. And strength draws strength." Aurelia touched her chest, feeling her heart beating too fast. "That is why you will grow stronger," Lyra said warmly. "It is always the quiet ones who surprise the galaxy." Aurelia knew she had no choice. Duty came first. Her feelings came second. So she prepared herself. The next morning, she wore the traditional silver robes of her house, stepped into the royal cruiser, and watched her homeworld shrink behind her. Her escort of elite guards and diplomats stood proudly in formation, ready to represent the Valor Dominion. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, a young human named Elias Ward walked through the long corridor of an Earth Alliance vessel. He wore a formal uniform that still felt strange on him. He had been a soldier during the frontier conflicts, known for his calmness under pressure and his habit of protecting others before himself. After the war, he had joined the diplomatic corps, thinking it would be easier than battle. But he now realized that diplomacy created a different kind of battlefield. One fought with words instead of weapons. His commander had told him only one thing. Earth needed him to represent humanity in a new treaty with the Valor Dominion. He thought it would be simple negotiations. He never expected the next sentence. You have been chosen as the marriage representative. Elias had stared in disbelief. Marriage? Me? You are young, healthy, disciplined, and you already have military honors, the commander explained. Your record shows loyalty, respectfulness, and emotional control. Those qualities matter to the Valor. Elias had taken a long breath before answering. And the princess? Does she want this? That is not for us to ask, the commander said softly. But the treaty may save billions. You know what that means. Elias did. He had seen too much loss in the last conflict. If a marriage could prevent another war or strengthen humanity's future, he would accept it. But he felt uneasy. He did not like the idea of someone being forced into anything because of him. His ship approached the neutral station where the meeting would happen. He stared at his reflection in the polished glass. He saw the faint scars on his hands, reminders of the fights he survived. He saw the calmness in his brown eyes, the quiet determination that had guided him through so many battles. And he wondered what the princess looked like. He wondered if she was afraid. He wondered how he could make this easier for her. Aurelia's cruiser arrived first at the station. She stepped out into a large hall filled with soft lights, clean silver floors, and floating translation drones. She walked gracefully, her attendants behind her, but inside, her thoughts tumbled like waves. She repeated the ancient Valor vow in her head: strength in duty, peace in purpose. When the human ship arrived, the hall grew quiet. Everyone watched as the humans stepped out. They looked different from the Valor. Taller, stronger, with sharper features and more expressive faces. Their eyes showed emotions freely, unlike the Valor who hid everything behind calm masks. Then Aurelia saw Elias. She froze. He was nothing like the images she had seen in the archives. He was not wild or harsh. He looked steady, almost peaceful. His expression was kind, and his posture respectful. When he saw her, he did not step forward aggressively or raise his voice like some humans were rumored to do. He bowed. A deep, respectful bow that no Valor noble had ever given her in her life. Aurelia's throat tightened. She had expected force or coldness. Instead, she saw gentleness. She did not know how to react. Her heart beat louder in her ears, and her legs felt strangely weak. Her attendants whispered, trying to understand why she had stopped walking. Elias straightened and spoke softly. Princess Aurelia, I am honored to meet you. Aurelia opened her mouth, but no sound came. She had practiced formal greetings for years, yet at this moment, every word escaped her. Elias noticed her trembling and took a single step back to give her space. He lowered his voice even more. You do not have to speak until you are ready. I will follow your pace. His words stunned her. Valor tradition never cared about what the princess wanted. But here, a human was offering her comfort, not pressure. Aurelia felt her chest rise and fall quickly. She forced herself to breathe. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. You must be calm. You must show grace. You are the Dominion's future. Finally, she whispered, Thank you. It was barely audible, but Elias smiled gently, understanding the effort behind it. Diplomats began arranging the talks. Aurelia and Elias sat across a wide circular table. The Valor officials spoke in measured tones. The humans responded with direct, simple words. Aurelia kept her gaze low. But she found herself stealing glances at Elias from time to time. She noticed the quiet strength in the way he listened. She noticed how he did not interrupt, how he thought before speaking, how he remained calm even when discussions became tense. Elias studied her too, respectfully. He saw the nervous way she held her hands. He saw the curiosity in her eyes when someone mentioned Earth's forests or oceans. He realized she was younger than he expected, and far more gentle. Not a cold, royal, but a thoughtful person trapped by duty. After hours of talks, the session ended for the day. Aurelia stood to leave, but Elias spoke softly. "I know this was difficult," he said. "You handled it with grace." Aurelia looked at him with surprise. No one had ever praised her feelings. They praised her posture, her speech, her composure. But he praised her effort. "Thank you," she said again, her voice steadier. As she walked away, Aurelia realized something she had never felt before. Her fear had not vanished, but a new feeling had begun to grow. A strange and gentle curiosity about the human she was expected to marry. And Elias, watching her leave, felt something too. A quiet wish to protect her. Not because of the treaty, but because she looked like someone who had carried too much alone. Both did not know it yet. But this was the beginning of something far greater than any alliance. Princess Aurelia returned to her guest chambers, with her steps slow and thoughtful. The long corridors of the neutral station glowed softly with white-blue light. But her mind was far louder than the quiet surroundings. She kept replaying the moment she first saw the human. She had imagined many things before meeting him, but none of those guesses matched Elias Ward. She expected someone rough or aggressive, like the old stories described humans. Instead, she found someone calm, gentle, and respectful in a way she had never experienced from her own people. She touched her chest lightly. Her heart still beat faster than normal. Lyra noticed her silence while she helped her remove her ceremonial cloak. "You are thinking about the human," Lyra said softly. Aurelia looked down. "Is it so obvious?" Lyra gave a small smile. "Your silence speaks. You did not speak a single unnecessary word since we left the chamber." Aurelia felt warmth rise in her cheeks. "I do not understand why I reacted like that." "Because it was your first time seeing someone so different," Lyra suggested. "No," Aurelia whispered. "It was not only that." She remembered the bow he gave her, a gesture filled with respect. She remembered how he stepped back when he sensed she was nervous. She remembered how he offered her time, something Valor officials rarely did. She remembered the faint kindness in his eyes when he said she had handled the meeting with grace. Aurelia sat down on the soft crystal bench near the window. Outside, the stars moved slowly as the station rotated. Her fingers curled as she tried to steady her breathing. "I felt safe," she said quietly. Lyra's eyes softened. "Safety can make the heart act strangely, princess." Aurelia remained quiet for a long time. She had always followed the rules her mother taught her: remain calm, remain distant, remain perfect. But for the first time, those rules felt heavy. She wondered if the human followed rules like hers, or if he lived by his own choices. She wondered if he felt the same nervousness she did. She wondered if he disliked the idea of this arranged union. She wondered if he simply hid it better. Lyra placed a hand over hers. "Tomorrow will bring clearer answers." Aurelia nodded, though doubt still filled her. She tried to sleep that night, but her thoughts moved too quickly. She kept remembering the small details of the human. The honest way he spoke, the soft lines of tiredness near his eyes that told stories of battles he had survived, the quiet tone he used when addressing her. On the other side of the station, Elias Ward sat alone in his quarters. The room was small, simple, and clean, but he barely noticed any of it. He kept remembering the look on the princess's face when she first saw him. She had frozen not from fear, he realized, but from surprise. Her violet eyes widened slightly, her lips parted but no sound came. And for a moment, she seemed fragile in a way that made him instinctively want to protect her. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing the scars on his hands. He had expected a cold, emotionless alien royal. He expected someone distant, uninterested, or too focused on politics. Instead, the princess had appeared gentle, almost shy, yet trying very hard to look strong in front of everyone. "She must hate this," Elias murmured to himself. He did not want to be the cause of her discomfort. He did not want to force anyone into anything. His duty told him this alliance could help both species. But his heart told him something different. Respect needed to come first. If she did not want this union, he would never push her. And if she feared him, he would find a way to make her feel safe. He remembered the small thanks she whispered after the meeting. It was barely a word, but he felt the weight of it. Someone who had been raised with strict formality had spoken directly to him, not because it was required, but because she wanted to. Elias exhaled slowly. He looked out the window at the distant stars and wondered what the princess was thinking right now. He wondered if she felt as overwhelmed as he did. He wondered if she believed humans were as strange as he believed Valor people to be. Morning came with soft chimes. The second day of negotiations began. Aurelia walked into the main chamber with steadier steps, but her heart still fluttered when she saw Elias already waiting there, standing respectfully by his chair. He gave her a small nod, not too bold, not too distant, just warm enough to show kindness without pressure. She felt her face warm again, but she managed a small nod in return. The leaders began discussing terms. Trade routes, military cooperation, shared research, cultural exchange. The talks were serious and complex, but Aurelia found her attention drifting toward the human more often than it should. She noticed how he always waited for others to finish speaking before giving his thoughts. She noticed how he did not raise his voice even when he disagreed. He explained things with calm patience that surprised the Valor diplomats. Aurelia listened carefully when he described Earth's strengths, not in terms of numbers or weapons, but in terms of determination, creativity, and unity. His words carried sincerity rather than arrogance. She realized then that humans were not trying to show power. They were trying to show trust. During a short break, Aurelia found herself standing near him again. She hesitated for a moment before speaking. "You speak very calmly," she said quietly. Elias looked surprised at first, then smiled gently. "It helps me think clearly. It helps others listen clearly," she added, surprising both herself and him. He chuckled softly. "I'm glad if it helps you." Aurelia looked away, feeling her cheeks warm. "It does." A comfortable silence followed, something neither expected. The break ended, but something had shifted between them. They no longer looked at each other as strangers. They were beginning to see each other as actual people, not just symbols of an alliance. Later that afternoon, a cultural demonstration was held to ease tension between the two sides. Humans displayed small examples of earth art paintings, simple music recordings, and images of natural landscapes. Aurelia found herself standing before a projection of an earth forest. Tall green trees, sunlight through branches, small animals moving quietly on the ground. She stared, feeling something strange peace. Elias approached her slowly. "Do you like it?" he asked. Aurelia nodded. "It feels alive." "It is," he said gently. "Earth has many places like this." "It is beautiful," she whispered. Elias watched her expression and felt something warm spread through him. Her eyes softened when she looked at nature, as if she secretly longed for open skies and freedom from heavy duties. He wondered what kind of life she lived on her homeworld. He wondered if she ever had a moment to simply breathe without pressure. Aurelia turned to him. "Do humans travel freely on your world?" "Mostly, yes," Elias answered. "People can go where they want, live where they want, choose what they want." Aurelia lowered her gaze. "Our lives are chosen for us." Elias felt a sudden heaviness in his heart. "That sounds difficult." "It is all we know," she whispered. "But sometimes, I wonder what it would feel like to choose something for myself." Elias did not respond immediately. He sensed the depth behind her words. He looked at her with gentle seriousness. "If you ever need someone to talk to," he said softly, "I can listen." Aurelia's breath caught slightly. No one had ever spoken to her like this before. No one offered her understanding. No one offered her a voice. But this human, someone from a distant world, offered her simple, sincere kindness. "Thank you," she said again. But this time the word carried more meaning. As the day ended, Aurelia walked back to her chambers with a strange lightness in her chest. She replayed every moment of the day, every glance, every word, every small gesture from Elias. He was nothing like she expected. And everything about him seemed to draw her curiosity deeper. In his quarters, Elias sat in silence, thinking about her gentle voice, her intelligent questions, and the quiet strength she tried so hard to hide. He respected her more with each moment. He admired her grace, her honesty, and the effort she made to hold herself together under pressure. They were from different worlds, different cultures, different expectations, but something small and delicate was forming between them. Something neither of them planned. Something neither of them understood yet. Something neither could ignore. And both felt the truth growing quietly inside their hearts. This alliance might not be built only by duty. It might also be built by choice. The third day on the neutral station began quietly, but a strange tension floated in the air. Princess Aurelia woke early, her mind filled with thoughts of the previous day. She stood near her window, watching distant starlight shimmer across the darkness. Her world had changed in only 2 days. Before this journey, she lived inside careful rules, careful movements, and careful silence. Now, something inside her felt wider, like she had stepped into a larger universe simply by speaking to one human. Lyra noticed the thoughtful look on her face as she prepared Aurelia's morning robe. "You look restless," she said gently. Aurelia did not deny it. "And about the human?" Lyra asked, her voice soft and knowing. Aurelia lowered her eyes but gave a small nod. "He is different. In a good way?" Lyra asked. "Yes," Aurelia whispered. "In a way I cannot explain." Her thoughts were interrupted when a soft alarm pulsed through the station. It was not loud enough to signal danger, but it warned of something approaching the outer zone. Aurelia felt her chest tighten. Her guards immediately stood alert. A trembling voice came through the station's speakers. "Minor disturbance detected in the outer sector. Investigation in progress." Aurelia tried to calm herself, but something felt wrong. She moved through the halls toward the negotiation chamber, her steps quicker than usual. She hoped the disturbance was only a space anomaly or a drifting cargo vessel. But deep inside, she sensed trouble. When she entered the chamber, she saw Elias already there, standing near the large circular table. He looked calm, but his eyes showed alertness. "You heard the alarm too," he said. Aurelia nodded. "I hope it is nothing serious." "Me too," Elias replied. "But I have a bad feeling." Before Aurelia could respond, the station lights flickered. A deep vibration spread through the floor, like a giant hand had struck the outer hull. Officials and guards rushed inside the chamber with rising panic. A human officer ran toward Elias. "We have incoming hostiles. Unknown ships. More than a dozen," a Valor guard added quickly. "Their energy signatures match the pirate fleet." Aurelia felt a chill move down her spine. The pirates were not supposed to find this place. It was a hidden meeting point. Protected. Secret. But somehow, they were here. The station shook again. The lights dimmed, then brightened sharply. A loud alarm echoed through every hallway. Elias turned to Aurelia at once. "We need to get you to safety." "My place is with my people," she said quickly, but her eyes trembled with worry. Another blast hit the station, harder than the last one. Even the strongest Valor guards swayed on their feet. Elias reached out, steadying her by her arm. His touch was gentle yet grounding. "Princess, you can lead them only if you survive. Come with me." She swallowed. Her heart raced. She hated the idea of fleeing. But she trusted him. Her guards formed a protective line around her as Elias took the lead. Together, they moved quickly down the corridors. Smoke drifted from the ceiling where sparks flew out. The entire station shook under the pirate barrage. As they ran, the pirate's message suddenly played across all communication screens. A distorted voice roared, "Surrender the human and the princess. Break the alliance, or the station will be destroyed." Aurelia felt her blood run cold. These pirates knew who she was. They knew the treaty was being formed. They knew about the human, about Elias. Elias turned to her, and in that moment, she saw something change in his eyes. Not fear, not panic, but a deep resolve. "They're after us," he said. "Yes," she whispered. "Then I'm not letting them take you." Her breath caught. She opened her mouth to respond, but the corridor exploded a few meters ahead. Guards pulled her back. Elias shielded her instinctively, placing himself between her and the blast. Aurelia stared at him in astonishment. He had no armor, no protective shield. Yet he protected her with his own body. Without a second thought, her guards quickly cleared the debris. Elias grabbed a dropped energy shield emitter from the ground and activated it, creating a shimmering, transparent field around himself and Aurelia. "This will help," he said. "Stay close." They moved again, but the route to the main escape wing was blocked by fallen beams. Smoke filled the air. Shouts echoed from all directions. Aurelia's guard captain shouted, "We must change the route. The upper hallways are collapsing." Elias pointed toward a side corridor. "This way leads to the emergency lift. It connects to the auxiliary deck." The guards hesitated. Aurelia did not. "Follow him," she ordered. Elias led them through the dim, shaking hallways. Hostile drones, small spherical machines buzzed from vents, firing blasts of red energy. Elias reacted quickly, raising the shield emitter and deflecting the shots. Aurelia watched in amazement. He moved with such calm, even in chaos, as if danger did not frighten him at all. Her people fired back, destroying the drones. Another explosion tore through the ceiling. Aurelia stumbled, but Elias caught her again, steadying her before she fell. He met her eyes. "I promised I'd follow your pace. So don't stop." She nodded, even though her heart was pounding. They reached the emergency lift, but as the doors opened, the station lights cut out entirely. Only emergency red lights glowed. A deep hum vibrated through the metal walls. "The pirates are boarding," a Valor guard said fearfully. Elias pressed the emergency override. The lift doors closed, just as loud footsteps echoed down the hall. Aurelia heard shouting in an unfamiliar language. She heard metal scraping. She heard distant screams. Inside the lift, everyone stood tense and silent. Aurelia's hand shook slightly. Elias noticed. He gently placed his hand on top of hers. Not in a bold way, but in a grounding, steadying way. "You're doing well," he said quietly. "Just breathe." She did, and for a moment, her fear lessened. They reached the auxiliary deck. But the deck was not empty. Pirate soldiers had forced their way in through a breached hull section. Smoke filled the air. Sparks flew from damaged panels. The pirates were tall, armored, and carrying heavy weapons. Aurelia's guards formed a protective circle around her, but there were too many pirates. They began to advance. Elias stepped forward, raising the shield emitter. "Stay behind me," he told Aurelia. She felt her breath stop. He stood alone between her and the pirates. He was just one man, yet he faced them with a courage she could not understand. He dodged the first blast, deflecting another with the shield. Aurelia's guards fired back, but the pirates kept pushing forward. Aurelia realized they would not all survive at this pace. She reached out, grabbing Elias's arm. "We must retreat," but Elias shook his head. "We need a distraction. or none of us get out. He scanned the room quickly. His eyes locked on a control panel near a fusion vent. A risky idea flashed through his mind. He turned to Aurelia. When I say go, you run with your guards to the upper corridor. Don't stop. Her heart squeezed painfully. What are you planning? Keeping you alive, he said simply. Before she could protest, he dashed forward toward the control panel. The pirates fired at him. Aurelia cried out, reaching toward him, but the shield emitter flickered and held. Elias slammed his hand on the panel, triggering a burst of steam and sparks. A loud hissing cloud erupted, blinding the pirates. Go! He shouted. Aurelia's guards pulled her away. She ran with them, but she kept looking back, terrified for Elias. Through the smoke, she saw him fighting off two pirates, using quick movements, blocking hits, pushing forward with pure will. Her throat tightened painfully. She had never seen such bravery. She had never felt such fear for someone else. They reached the upper corridor, where the smoke finally thinned. Elias appeared moments later, breathing hard, covered in dust, but alive. Aurelia rushed to him before she could stop herself. Are you hurt? He shook his head. I'm fine. Are you safe? She nodded, though her heart was still racing. He looked exhausted, yet he still checked her condition first. She stared at him, realizing something inside her had shifted completely. You risked your life for me, she whispered. I'd do it again, he said quietly. Aurelia felt a strange warmth spread through her entire being. She did not know the name for this feeling, but it frightened and comforted her at the same time. She had never felt anything like it, not in her quiet palace, not in her sheltered upbringing, not in her training. Elias Ward had changed something inside her. The pirates had not been defeated yet. The station was still in danger. But one thing had become certain. Aurelia no longer feared the human she was ordered to marry. She feared losing him. The auxiliary deck was shaking under the weight of more blasts, and Aurelia could hear distant alarms echoing through every hallway. The station was under full attack now. Parts of the hull were failing, and emergency shields flickered as they struggled to stay active. The air smelled of smoke, metal, and fear. Yet, standing beside Elias, Aurelia felt something steady inside her. Something she had never felt before. The Valor guards looked exhausted after the fight, but Elias remained focused. He checked the corridor ahead, his eyes sharp and alert. We can't stay here, he said. If the pirates break through this deck, they'll corner us. Aurelia's guard captain nodded. The command bridge is still under our control. We can regroup there. Elias turned to Aurelia. I'll get you there. She met his eyes and saw his determination. He was wounded, his uniform torn in places from the earlier battle, dust and burn marks on his arms, but he still stood straight and strong. He had already saved her more times than she could count. And despite the chaos around them, he seemed to pull her toward a strange sense of hope. As the group moved, the station suddenly jolted from a powerful strike. Aurelia stumbled, and Elias immediately reached for her. He placed a hand on her back to steady her. She felt embarrassed by how her heart jumped at his touch, but she did not move away. The pirates were growing bolder. More drones rushed through vents, firing blasts down the hallway. Elias quickly pushed Aurelia behind him and raised the shield emitter again. The transparent shield glowed bright as it absorbed hit after hit. Valor guards destroyed the drones, but it became clear that the pirates were trying to slow them down. There must be a command unit nearby, Elias murmured. They're coordinating these attacks. Aurelia swallowed hard. Will we reach the bridge? We will, he answered softly. I'll make sure of it. His confidence gave her strength. She took a deeper breath and lifted her chin, refusing to let fear crush her. They moved through the long corridor, stepping over broken equipment and shattered panels. Smoke drifted around their feet. The emergency lights flickered, painting everything in red. Aurelia stayed near Elias, matching his pace. At moments, she caught him glancing at her to check if she was all right. "Do you always protect people this way?" she asked quietly after a few minutes. Elias hesitated before answering. "Only when it matters." Aurelia looked at him, trying to understand his meaning. "Do I matter?" He did not look away. "Yes." Her breath caught, and she felt her pulse quicken. In the middle of danger, his simple answer felt more powerful than any promise she had ever received. As they turned another corner, they found a group of Valor officers struggling to seal a breach in the wall. A small force field flickered weakly, barely holding the vacuum outside. Aurelia gasped when she saw a young Valor technician pinned under collapsed wires. Without waiting for orders, Elias rushed forward. Aurelia followed, ignoring the warning cries of her guards. The technician was barely conscious. Elias knelt beside him and lifted the heavy cables off his chest, using all his strength. Aurelia helped stabilize the shattered wires, her hands shaking as sparks danced near her fingers. After a moment, they pulled the injured officer free. Aurelia touched the officer's forehead. "You are safe now," she whispered. The officer looked at Elias with weak gratitude. "Thank you. Human." Elias nodded simply. "Let's get him out of here." The guards carried the technician toward the medical bay, and Aurelia watched them go with pride swelling in her chest. Elias stood beside her silently, watching her expression. "You have a kind heart," he said. Aurelia turned to him slowly. "You risked your life for someone you do not even know." "Life is life," he replied. "Everyone deserves a chance." She felt warmth spread through her chest again. She wanted to ask him more how he became this way, why he fought so fearlessly, what shaped him, but there was no time. Another tremor shook the floor. "We must move," Elias said. They finally reached the last hallway leading to the command bridge. But the doors were sealed shut from inside. A red light flashed above the entrance. "They've locked it," the guard captain said. "We'll have to override the system." Before they could act, the station's speakers crackled. A cold, distorted voice filled the air. "Princess Aurelia, human Elias Ward. You cannot hide. You will surrender. Or, everyone, on this station, will fall." Aurelia's stomach twisted with fear. Elias clenched his jaw, stepping protectively in front of her. "We're not surrendering," he said quietly. Aurelia's voice trembled as she spoke. "They want to stop the alliance. They're afraid of what unity between Valor and humans will bring," Elias said. "They're afraid of peace." Aurelia realized then that this alliance was more than a treaty. It was a symbol, one the pirates wanted to destroy before it even formed. The guard captain worked quickly on the panel. Just a few more seconds. Before he could finish, heavy footsteps thundered from behind them. The pirates had found them. Aurelia gasped as armored soldiers approached with glowing weapons. Elias grabbed her hand. "Stay behind me." Aurelia grabbed his hand back without thinking. "I will not leave you." The pirates advanced. Elias activated the shield emitter again. A battle broke out in the narrow hallway. Valor guards fought bravely. But the pirates were strong. Aurelia watched in terror as her people fell back. A pirate soldier targeted Aurelia directly. Elias reacted instantly. He stepped in front of the blast. The shield emitter took the hit, but the force pushed him back hard. Aurelia screamed his name and ran toward him, grabbing his shoulders. "Are you hurt?" she cried. He shook his head, trying to breathe. "I'm okay. Keep moving." "You nearly fell." "I told you I'd protect you," he whispered. Another explosion rocked the station. The hallway filled with smoke. The guard captain finally shouted, "The door is open. Move." Elias grabbed Aurelia's hand tightly and pulled her forward. They rushed into the command bridge just as the doors sealed behind them. Officers inside gasped when they saw the princess and the human burst in together, covered in smoke and dust. Aurelia felt her knees weaken. But Elias steadied her again. He guided her toward the central platform where the holographic map showed the station surrounded by pirate ships. "They're closing in," an officer said urgently. "We can't. Hold them off." Elias stepped forward. "What's the status of the auxiliary reactors?" "Unstable," the officer said. "We diverted energy to the shields." Elias studied the map, his mind calculating fast. "We need to overload the aft reactor. A small flare will blind their scanners for a few minutes. Enough time for Valor ships to strike back." Aurelia stared at him in awe. "Can it work?" "It's dangerous," the officer warned. "A miscalculation could destroy half the station." Elias turned to Aurelia, his face serious. "We don't have another option." "Ah, we." Aurelia lifted her chin. "Then we do it." Elias nodded. Together they coordinated with the Valor engineers. The bridge hummed with tension. A countdown began. Aurelia stood beside Elias, close enough to feel the warmth of his arm. "Are you afraid?" he asked softly. "Yes," she whispered, "but not like before." "What changed?" he asked. "You," she said quietly. He looked at her with surprise, but before he could speak, the countdown reached 0. A blinding flash erupted from the rear of the station. The entire structure shook violently, and Aurelia grabbed Elias's arm tightly. The pirate ships stumbled in confusion as their sensors went dark. Valor ships arrived through hyperspace at that exact moment, striking with precise attacks. The pirates panicked. Some fled. Some were destroyed. Within minutes, the battle turned. "We're winning!" a Valor officer shouted. Aurelia felt tears prick her eyes. Relief washed through her. The danger was ending. The station was saved. She turned to Elias, her voice shaking. "You saved all of us." He shook his head. "We saved them together." Aurelia stepped closer, her heart pounding. The fear of losing him. The fear she felt when he stepped in front of the blast. The fear when he ran into the smoke. All of it rose inside her like a wave. She realized the truth in that moment. She didn't want to marry him because of the alliance. She wanted to marry him because of who he was. The council gathered in the chamber once the danger was over. They prepared to finalize the treaty. Everyone expected Aurelia to quietly agree as tradition required. But she stepped forward and spoke in a strong, clear voice. "I will accept this union. But not because it is an order," she said. "I choose him." Gasps filled the room. Even Elias froze. Aurelia turned to him, her eyes soft but full of certainty. "I choose you." Elias felt his breath catch. He stepped closer and bowed his head slightly. "Then I choose you as well." The council approved the treaty. The room erupted in relief and celebration. But Aurelia heard none of it. She only saw Elias, the human who respected her, protected her, and helped her find her voice. Together, they stepped forward into a new future, not as strangers forced into a marriage, but as two people who discovered something rare and strong between them. Something neither of their worlds could deny.